Welcome to our first video about our new series, 7 Myths about Women Entrepreneurs that even smart people believe. In this first video, I'm going to give you an overview, but also tell you why they matter. Why should we care? So let's dive in with some material I've prepared for you. So let's tackle the obvious question. 7 myths, so what? The so what comes from the power of myths and stories. They shape systems, they shape our perception of the world, which in fact shapes our world. How do they do that? Well, stories affect our perceptions, how we think, how we evaluate things. They impact our decisions, and therefore, keeping in mind that investors and decision makers within businesses are human. I know sometimes we can doubt it, but they are, bear with me. So as people, these stories shape our perceptions, they shape how we take decisions, means it actually shapes who gets an opportunity, what gets done, and ultimately it impacts what happens on the ground and the shape of an innovation ecosystem. So when myths persist, opportunities can be, might be, are misallocated. So why does this matter? Particularly if you're in an ecosystem that works just fine. How do we know it could be better? What could be better? What shape does better look like? In fact, the world faces global challenges. So if business not as usual and what we've done historically since the Industrial Revolution is no longer working, it means we need to do things differently. And for that to happen, the people who are really good at doing things differently are entrepreneurs. That's really their raison d'etre. They disrupt systems, they change the way we do, they bring new ideas, new innovations, new products to the market. So we need more entrepreneurs. We've also seen through COVID that supply chains and ecosystem in general have not really been very resilient. They've collapsed. Projects haven't reached, we remember the crisis over the toilet paper. Moving on. So we need more resilient systems, and ecosystems are paying attention to this. So innovation ecosystems are being designed. Significant players, gatekeepers, members are all thinking the same. What can we do better? How can we do more? And in fact, there is a pressure on everybody to do more and more, faster and faster, with less and less resources. So naturally, the capital system has also caught on. They're looking for more opportunities. Both private and public funding are looking for impact, inclusion, accountability. We'll hear a lot about metrics and so on, but that's the subject of another area completely. And also, again, we talked about humans. We are people. The next generation is watching. The next generation is holding us and those before us accountable. Now, why does all this matter also now, and thinking about addressing myths around women, is that because over the last particularly 10 to 20 years, the evidence has been accumulating, and we can now look at these myths head on and know that we've got the evidence that they are not true. And also, we're in the 21st century. The notion of entrepreneurship itself is changing. It is no longer exploitative, out there, ruthless, the image of the lone entrepreneur with a sword on a horse. Okay, maybe it's not a common image, but you get my drift. It is really very combative, going from combative to competitive was a bit of a tongue twister for me, but there we go. Combative and competitive. And it's very ruthless. And we know, rooted in the industrial system, it was very exploitative. But in the 21st century, we're looking at entrepreneurs and systems that are looking for impact, to make the world a better place, to be regenerative, to be sustainable. But sometimes we're working in areas that can't be made sustainable. Remember, sustain means to keep as it is. But in some parts of our world, challenges around people, we actually need to regenerate. We need to make it better. We need to make it whole again. We need to fix problems. We need to heal scars. So as long as we have myths that are distorting our markets, are weakening the innovations that we're putting out in the world, that in general is actually undermining and suppressing the entrepreneurial potential of our ecosystems. So the 7 myths that I'd like to share with you about women, and invite you to both contemplate but also challenge in your own world, challenge me over. Tell me what you think. Women have low confidence. Haven't we all heard that one? Women are too risk averse. It's always that too that's in there. And I have to always wonder, what is too risk averse? Women are less good at finance. Evidence shows that that's not quite the case. Women don't want to raise finance. And you'll see that with all these myths, it's the nuance of that additional word. And in this case, it's don't want to raise finance. Women are not as good at pitching. Not as good at pitching? What? As men? I mean, what's the comparative? Women hold other women back. All women? And this one is one of my love to hate ones. Women don't speak up. They don't step up. You must lean in. I wonder why that happens. In the following videos, we're going to unpack each one to look at why they happen, why they're persistent, and what the evidence tells us. At this point, I'm just sharing all 7 with you. You may know them. This may be just the point that you look at them and go, yeah, actually, we should be looking at these. Or maybe you're thinking, I'd really like to know what evidence she's got for this. If you want the evidence, please click on the following videos. So, really, we're trying to shatter those myths so that innovation ecosystems can deliver the impact they aspire to. And if we put it in a bigger context, if we say, well, actually, ecosystems, and I believe that you're watching me because you are part of an innovation ecosystem, or maybe it's for general interest, but ecosystems are localized. Their impact is not. So if we look at a global context, and in the context of global challenges, when myths persist, let's look at them collectively here. Women lack confidence. Women are too risk averse. We're not good at finance. We don't speak up. We don't pitch well. Would you give us your money? If you believe these myths about us, how would you reasonably and logically and in good conscience give us either your hard-earned cash, or if you work for a fund, give us the cash you are a steward over, money from pension funds? So these myths make it very hard to invest in women, and may go a long way to explain why only 2% of venture capital goes to women, whereas if you compare that to the instance of entrepreneurship, there's about 25 to 30% of founders are women. So why would only 2% of capital go to them? Therefore, the systems on the consequences on the ecosystem, as well as global challenges, means that talent is overlooked, capital is misallocated, fewer ventures are supported, fewer different ventures are supported, and therefore slower innovation comes to pass, and only certain problems are solved while others are left at large. So when ecosystems overlook or undervalue half the entrepreneurial talent, solving global challenges becomes harder. At this point, it's just maths. So we need to shatter the myths. We need to move away from to this, to that, less good, don't want, not as good as. We've got to stop blaming the women, shaming the women as even, but really we need to reframe our thinking, reframe the questions. Look at how do some of these things come about? Why are these myths persistent? What can we do about them? And where does the fixing happen? And I invite you to fix the system, not the women. What does that look like? Stop focusing on training that tells women, you must be X, Y, Z. Whatever it is, as soon as you find yourself looking at a woman and saying, you must, you should, you're in that space of fixing the woman. Instead, look at fixing the system. Where is the evidence? Who's listening? How are they listening? Who's getting the capital? Who's getting access to the networks, access to markets? Who's being bought from? Who's being spoken to? Who is visible? And that puts you firmly in the realm of fixing the system. You're reframing, you're reshaping, you're fixing, and you're having that long-term impact on creating resilient ecosystems that deliver on their ambitions and deliver solutions to complex challenges of our world. So, tell me, which of these myths resonated? Which made you go, ouch? Which will you challenge? What will you do? Do you need anything else? What do you need? Are you part of an ecosystem? Lots of questions, lots for potential for discussion. Talk to us. We are CamBAST and we'd love to hear from you. Even if we don't, please stick with us and click on the next video to have an in-depth view of our first myth. And then if you continue to be engaged with us, have a look at the other videos or pick and choose. Each video follows one or more myths, and I hope you find them useful. Thank you.